All right, so it took a bit of time, but today I'm surrounded by big guys, big boys, and that's exactly what we're all about here at Sports Extra. Welcome to another fantastic episode. We'll be talking about sports locally, regionally, internationally. I'm joined by Ashley and, of course, Sean, who's making his debut on the show today. So, Sean, welcome, and of course, we'll be looking forward to some of the stuff we're talking about today.
Indeed. And I'm hoping that I won't go out for a duck on debut. That will be a bit sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully, some of your first class knocks will do the business for you today.
Yeah, you know how it is, like with the chevron. You get someone who's a batter opening the batsman, there's got no first class time to talk about. He's coming off the back of a 30, a good 30, and then they're in the side.
All right, so Ash, obviously quite a lot to talk about today, and you've obviously got so many concerns about runs scored in Pakistan.
I didn't expect that from Pakistan. The way they dotted the pitch, the way they have been playing off legs, and they give it away so cheaply. They sold the runs for
literally for a song. But in any case, here's what's coming up on the show. Congratulations to the Warriors. They overcame Namibia. Let's look at some of those permutations, combinations, what is going to come out there, and more importantly, of course, what is also happening to Dynamos. They're on a slippery slope. Two consecutive matches that they've lost. Is there something wrong in the camp? What can they do better? We're also going to be taking a look at the cricket in Pakistan, as we've mentioned. Tons of runs scored. In fact, tons would actually be an understatement. Metric tons of runs scored, and you end up losing the match. So we're going to be talking about that. And ultimately, in terms of football, well, the Premier League weekend is coming back. Liverpool taking on Chelsea. That is going to be a massive, massive encounter. Who's going to come out of that one? All of the analysis, all this and so much more right here on this show. Stay tuned and make sure that you like, you share, you comment, you subscribe on all of our social media platforms. We're available there, and more recently we opened up TikTok as well. So make sure that you go through and watch some of our video analysis. We'll be coming back right after this break. All right, welcome back, and let's start off with the most important thing, and this one I'll start off with you, Sean. Congratulations to the Warriors. I expected a win. Yes, I expected a win, but I didn't expect us to score as many goals as we scored, considering that I think we've had a serious problem in terms of strikers or forwards that can score goals for us, but a 3-1 win against Namibia, I think good enough.
Good enough, well, more than good enough. But you know what happened with the Namibians is that in the first match, they looked better than us, only that they could not score. So it helped us in that there's not been a long time between the first match and the second match. They were complacent, thinking, Zimbabwe, we were on top. Yes, we did lose, but they were on top. But so it played into our hands, and glad to say we won. And it seems as if something is the German manager, the new coach that we have, there's something, an aura about him. He knows his football. So it's rubbing off on the players, and you can see someone plays in Serie A in Italy. You have to see the caliber, the sort of player that they are. If someone plays, like what's his name, Munez, playing in France, you can see the level that he's playing at. So some people will be saying, you know what, Kadewere, because he plays abroad. I know he was away, he didn't play. But that sort of player, that caliber of a player, you can see it on the international stage. And then you've got players who are maybe outliers, like Billiard, playing in Zimbabwe, but you can see even against Cameroon, he was the best player on the pitch. Brian Bueno was there. We all know how good he is for Brentford, but Billiard was a superstar. So we've got, I think, I'll use this loosely, golden generation. I love these boys. They can play. They're a very good team, and I think we've got something good that's happening.
Yeah, actually, and looking at it, look at our goal scorers, Walter Msona. I think the first goal for Tuiters, but look, at the end of the day, a goal is a goal. We take them whichever way they come. He scored a brace. How much do you think that does for him and his career? I mean, there's been a bit of criticism as well around him and maybe not stepping up to the level that he needs to step up to. But surely that was good for him.
Yeah, for Walter, that was a brilliant moment. Scoring 2 goals at the international level is not easy. Not many people do that. Scoring a brace, then playing under the shadow of knowledge. That's the main burden that he carries. He's always been under the shadow of knowledge. And knowledge was prolific. He's coming into his own right now. And I'd like to give credit to Michael Nice. Michael Nice has brought something. He had the first 2 games against, the first game against Cameroon, he was trying to figure it out. The other game against Namibia, he seems to have gotten it somewhat, scored 1 goal. So this time, okay, generally in sport, the first half belongs to the players. You know, they're getting in there, they're sizing their opponents up. They're trying to determine who's the boss around here, who can do what, who's got space. Second half, team talk, half-time team talk, coach then tells you what to do. You've done whatever you can do as an individual player. Now let's play as a team. That's when our goals started coming. So yeah, and then in the case of Walter, I think it was just an issue of confidence and placing himself in the right time. You know, being where he's supposed to be when the ball is being played. And now have a style of play that they can adapt to. Prince Dube has always been an exceptional striker. They just needed the right coach. They just needed. I have to close this. I hope Zifa doesn't do Zifa.
Well, Zifa is known to actually bail on success on many occasions, but again, maybe if we look at it, Sean, the other aspect is that you've spoken about Michael Nice and the kind of football that he seemingly wants his players to play. He did mention it during his introduction. I don't want to just pump the ball up forward. We want to build it. We want to play some attractive football. We want to play attacking football. And for the first time in quite a long time, Zimbabwe is not dependent on a 1-0 win or a 2-1 win, you know, just enough. But we've scored goals and we've had a hunger and an appetite to score more. I think we actually could have won 4 or 5. Yesterday with the chances we created.
If I can just jump in. We're not relying on the calculator this time. Actually, we count on the players to do something. Always qualified with permutations. And for Michael Nice, I think for Zimbabwe in general, last time we had a golden generation. Yes, the other guys went to AFCON, but the cream of the golden generation also had a Jimmy Mentor. And that kind of football. Yeah, so I think Zim and Gemini, we've got a good combination.
Good thing going.
I think you can see the German efficiency. And what I know is that if it needs for us to win 1-0, we'll take it. But if you've got enough chances, you capitalize and you score 2 or 3 goals, and that's perfect on the day. What I hope is that when you go to AFCON is that he keeps the core players that he has. And we hope, as he said, that Zifa will not come in. We give the players money, get corporates to come through, because you know what happens in our country more often than not is that after they've won, that is when people will now start coming and giving them money. They need the money as we prepare to go to AFCON, as we prepare for these tournaments. And then beg the boys, pay them their money. We have got no issues of staying at the airport. We've got no issues that players will not paid. Michael Nice has not been paid. He's taking us to FIFA. We don't want to have that happening this time around.
Oh, it's actually interesting points there, Sean. And I think now ultimately what we need to look at is what does it look like. Cameroon did the business yesterday against Kenya. They won by 1-0. And so they are now on 10 points and effectively have qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco 2025. The Zimbabwe have now moved on to 8 points. All we effectively need right now is a draw from our last 2 games and be able to progress. However, I'm sure the communication would be, it's better just win because there's a likelihood in Yaoundé that might not be an easy territory to go to. But Kenya seems to be a bogey side for us. Do you think that there is a possibility? And hearing that the game most probably will be played in Uganda, or Kenya at the present moment doesn't have stadiums, just like we don't have stadiums. Do you think that there's a possibility that we can eke out this draw or even the win?
I'll give Cameroon a good run. We've given them a good run for the draw. Yes, we played in Rwanda, but the gelling of the player, it's starting to show. Our defense is somewhat solid. Yes, they made a blunder when Namibia scored, but we can see what Michael Nice is trying to do. We're seeing the design, the patterns that he wants to play, where he wants his players to be. If you listen to the commentary of the game, you would find Jordan Zemura was bringing the ball up. He was almost as a midfielder. He was not playing that much deep as in defense. He was up there using the space that they were leaving. So yeah, I think in Yaoundé we can get a draw. Guys, we can get a draw. The Cameroon is not the same Cameroon.
Yeah, that's true.
They have lost their depth. Back then you used to have global superstars coming from Cameroon. Right now, well, they don't really have anyone that would say is a game changer. We've got a game changer or two. We've got Tawanda Chirewa, we've got Jordan Zemura, we've got Marshall Munetsi, and the captain's come back as well. So looking at it, you say, okay, we've got all this quality on the field. We've got a good coach right now. Let's go and do it. The worst we can get out of Cameroon is a draw. Otherwise, let's go and beat.
But there's a sobering part. Our team is playing well, but we cannot watch them. You spoke about the dream team. I was very young during the dream team era, but I would make sure I go to the matches. Because and even in trying to get our children to love the sport and everything, for me that helped me. So now we've got the generation, it's almost like a lost generation because you're watching, and even watching it on TV is a chore in itself. Where do we watch it? Where do we stream? Where do we do this? It becomes an issue. So we don't really appreciate how good
some of these are administrative issues. We used to go and watch the Warriors back then playing at the National Sports Stadium, playing in Barberfield, playing at Rufaro Stadium. Right now our home ground is all over the Africa.
Rwanda,
we use Uganda, Orlando Stadium. How do we get? We spoke about this when we were talking about the Afro T10. We need these unions, these associated sporting unions. Bring the crowd, bring the game to the people. Make sure that it's accessible. That's where your value is. Get the stadiums full. Surely we cannot fill up Uganda Stadium. Surely we cannot fill up Orlando Stadium.
Sure, there are enough Zimbabweans to do something, but we won't be able to fill it up.
Yeah, we've got enough Zimbabweans to do something.
More than enough.
Yeah.
But in any case, that is where we do stand, and obviously we would love to hear your thoughts and your comments on this one. Do you think that Zimbabwe has enough juice in the tank in order to get past either Kenya or Cameroon, or even get past both of them and ultimately qualify for the AFCON? I think it will be important for us to do that. Others are already beginning to discuss 2026 World Cup. Is it a possibility with the way we're playing? Well, I feel that in the 2026 World Cup campaign, there's a lot more work to be done because we kind of put ourselves on the back foot in the last couple of fixtures that we played. But in any case, we'll see how that one goes. Gentlemen, let's move on to the next one before we take our break. And this time round, looking at local football. Now, there's a whole lot of discussion. Yes, Division 1 football, the race is now tight there, woes, Scotland, this and that. But we come back to our traditional community team giants, that is Dynamos, Dimbare, the Glamour Boys. And right now, things not looking too great. And I think I've said this as plainly before, that I've never thought that Lloyd Mabla is the man to take them forward from this point. But they've already suffered 2 consecutive defeats. He blamed his defense for this second defeat. Sean, is it clutching at straws or was he right?
You know what? Lloyd Chugo has been a Dynamo forever. And there's a reason why he's been coaching the juniors. He's a very good juniors coach. So we've seen him before as head coach at Dynamos, and they did away with him for a reason. So yes, it was a crisis. He came in and sort of like stabilized the ship where it appeared to have done so. But now we're actually seeing now those chinks in his armor that, okay, he's not quite the manager that you want him to be. But the issue with Dynamo is not a logical issue. It's an institutional problem. The glamour is well and truly gone from Dynamos, from the Glamour Boys. And we have to be honest with ourselves. So something has to be done, something has to give. Unfortunately, they cannot compete against the bigger sides now. They are bigger in terms of who's funding them. They're bigger because they've got a big purse. They can get the players in. The players are well paid. We can't say the same thing about Dynamos. So until we change those issues, we'll always be running in circles and circling back to former managers, you go from left to go, you look for someone else, and then you look, if you just bring back Murapi to help out, and it will always be, unfortunately for Dynamos, something has got to give.
And ultimately, there's the discussion, and I think it has been had over time. Is it now time for us to somewhat privatize Dynamos? And I think that the discussion has come that even if you are to privatize Dynamos, how then do you privatize it? Of course, you've got a constitution, the community that somewhat owns this, shareholders within it. Like, how do you even start? It seems like it's a mess. But at the present moment, maybe the man sitting on top might offer a solution. That's Bernard Marius Lusengo, who many also believe that he might actually be the serious problem at Dynamos at the moment.
Listen, first and foremost, the problem is cultural. Mm-hmm. There is an ownership culture of Chimicheri, Cosa Nostra mentality. Mm-hmm. It's a community thing, shared with the community. Give you a simple example. ZPC Kariba versus Highlanders. Highlanders management opted to boycott the game. Mm-hmm. And the fans went to the clubhouse and contributed towards paying their fine. That's community ownership. You do not have the same with Dynamos. With Dynamos, it's always when they're on the up, ownership comes up. People want to benefit without putting anything in. I don't think they still have a constitution, or it's something that they do not have. They are logically not a community team. They have a lot of wannabe stakeholders that will come up and say, we own the team, and that scoreboard needs to go away, has to be settled. Caps United was sold, Faraige is doing some kind of job. I don't know how the paces are still strong. And credit to him. Actually, credit to Caps United for beating Dynamos. They came from behind, and I don't think Luigi got, he's a stopgap measure. He's not. Let's take it all the way. Let's stop the bleeding. Let's go to the doctor now. We need a proper doctor now. He's just a guy who just comes.
The boy Marine. The fracture.
But now you need the stitches. You need the proper doctor.
Fair.
Yeah. Right now, they're bleeding. They're breathing through a wound. They're not gonna make it.
All right.
You need to give credit. Hey, the new boys, Zimbabwe Warriors, are dominating.
Yeah. They are.
You give them credit. They come up. My friends at Golden Eagles, Bay and Mike, hey, this was their dream, coming to the league and try and win it and go to CAF. Now they have bigger problems. But Zimbabwe Warriors appearing for the first time in the Premier League and they're sitting on top right now.
But you know what I fear in our football now is that you need someone, a club, to come through with a benefactor with deep pockets to come in. It has become so difficult with the way our economy is. You need a football club that comes through. They might not have most of the money in the world, but they can groom youngsters, bring up a football team and compete. And if you don't have money now, you're in trouble. So even traditional giants like Dynamos, they're struggling.
Sean, and I think you mentioned something very important there. A lot of teams have seemingly gone the big bag route. Buy yourself out of trouble or buy yourself into success route, and I think we've seen that with the likes of Scotland down in Division 1. I mean, they've bought any experienced player that's on the market right now, and they've put up a mega super side. We saw Zimbabwe as well, went shopping at the beginning of this season. I think they bought about 11 or 12 players as well and brought them into the side. But how does this augur for our football then going forward? And I think the major discussion as well that we've had even in media is that there is a serious hunger. In fact, there's a serious dearth at the moment, whereby we don't have a new story to talk about. You remember as you were growing up, and Alois Bunjira breaking onto the scene, and Stuart Murisa breaking onto the scene, even the likes of the Vitalis Takawiras, when they broke onto the scene, they were coming behind the likes of the Mercedes Rambos Bandas and those that had gone before and things like that. The new story in football at the moment is just not being created.
I think because we're used to fairy tales. You talking of Giant T, you think of the boys came when you deal with those boys. There was not a lot of money. Liverpool came, with heavy bags, as you call them, they still now they're defunct. Because that's what always happens. So if you have to rely on an individual, I know broke. When they go broke, what do you do? What happens to the football team? So you need some institutional strength to mean that even if one person dies, the club will still function. So you will see that we need to, like, it goes to junior policy, junior football. We have enough youngsters coming through the system to know that our football is well taken care of.
Yeah, big things obviously to talk about, but Ash, I'll give you this one.
Right. So the key thing now is there's a young guy from Dynamos, the PE boy,
Bill Antonio.
After that, there's a big gap. You don't have the next big thing. Back then, you knew of Peter Ndo when he was at Mziligas. Everybody knew there was Peter Ndo. He even got a call up to play first team Highlanders when he was still in school. Bill Antonio, I thought Bill Antonio would go that way. Actually, as come to know, Bill Antonio is not even part of the Warriors setup.
Because of the injury that he just had. Just coming up back up now, but it looks as if he's the real deal.
So we need more of those. We look into the school system, into the junior circuit, and say, okay, who are the next stars? How are we putting all this together? Right now, we, like you said, like Sean said, waiting for a miracle.
But I think, like with the conveyor belt, just passing on zone the next. Unfortunately, there's no Mageti. The conveyor belt is off, so there's no players that are coming through. So unfortunately, you cannot even in all our sporting cricket. Not before it was, even when Taib was a youngster, you knew that those people coming in, Stewart was coming in, Hamilton was coming in, but still playing schoolboy cricket, but he knew that they are on the way.
And also, speaking of that, we recently saw the Zimbabwe 20s playing against Zambia and South Africa. They did poorly. I don't know if that's the same structure that Nice is imparting to the juniors. Is a connect. This is the kind of brand of football that Zimbabwe wants to play, or it's whoever is coaching the under 15s does whatever he wants, the under 20s does whatever he wants.
So you'll be surprised Simon Marange has not spoken to Michael Nice.
Never met.
No
idea. So they do not have that thing in common, and you really want to see the under 20s doing well, putting their hand up. Back in the day, we also have this comfort zone that we went into. Like back in the day, we were a powerhouse. We still living on those memories. Right now,
we have a powerhouse. They
come up and won the AFCON. We've not gotten there, but we still believe. There's false belief that it's going to happen, that miracle. But we're not putting in the effort and the structures to say juniors up to the national team, to the Warriors, will see the progression. We don't have that.
And they do Dega. This is basically what we are talking about here. But obviously, there's a lot more to talk about there. Would love to hear your thoughts and your comments. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we talk about the metric tons of runs that were scored in Pakistan and see where cricket is going. We're also going to take a look at the Women's World Cup. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us and sticking with us. We move on to cricket and we talk about what is happening in terms of runs being scored like ridiculously. First and foremost, that test match between Pakistan and England. I mean, it's very difficult to think about it. You would say, okay, fair and fine, Pakistan went on and made an odd 500 plus. But to have then allowed England to go on and score 800 and something,
883,
it clearly meant that the pitch was horrible. Now, Ash, I'll start with you. Back in the day, for Pakistan, we knew it was literally a graveyard for batsmen to go to Pakistan. The pitches would suit the bowlers, and back then they obviously had the Moulton of swing, Wasim Akram, they had Waka Yunis in their lineup, and then obviously following behind them the Shoaib Akhtar and so on that then came. Do you think that maybe Pakistan is missing a point here? I mean, prepare a better pitch. Maybe you might actually win.
They prepared a pitch that they thought they would win on. Kudos to England for coming prepared. They saw the trick before the magician.
But that was literally a tar. It was a highway.
It was a highway.
Yeah.
It was designed to bamboozle England. But they came prepared. They took out all those guys that really were not going to play well that field. And they put the right people in place. And the runs flowed. And unfortunately, Pakistan did not have an answer when England stepped up. They didn't have the higher gear. They just stuck in some, maybe they were neutral, I don't know, but they never upped their game. Their betting became deplorable. After scoring 500, the second innings, they went down.
Does this also have anything to do, Sean, with the way that Pakistan cricket's internal affairs have been going on? Just more recently, Baba Azam captaincy was removed from him. The second test, obviously, which is beginning today as well, he's not in the side. Naseem Shah has been dropped. I'm not so sure if Shaheen Shah as well. And these are arguably three of your top players, even in the test side. I mean, is it not also based on that?
I think in terms of politics, Pakistan and politics, there is always one thing or the other. In terms of raw and sheer talent, they're talented. But I think they even did a test that is the fastest deck ever since we started recording that. So they made 500, but how they allowed England to score 800 odd in some. You can see Harry Brook and Joe Root, the way they were playing. They would never, it's like they were singing it like a balloon. So nothing, the pitch, there was nothing off the pitch. There were no theatrics that were coming with the way they were bowling. You said it was the Makram, you said Waka Yunis, but back then they had Sakhlin Mushtaq, even the leg as well, Abdul Kadir, those sort of players. Nowadays, so happens that they don't have players of that ilk. So unfortunately, they were in trouble. So with baseball now is that if your back is against the wall, they'll kill you. That's what happened. Then they scored 800. So you stay on the pitch for 2 days, you're already tired. So when you attempt to bat, they're in trouble. Then of all the batters, I think for me, Jack Leach is an average ball. But he became a superstar on that deck. So some deck, he wasn't turning for you. For him, he was doing wonders.
So maybe then it comes back to their bowling setup. We tend to know that if you want to learn fast bowling, you can go to Australia, you can go to Pakistan, even in
West Indies.
West Indies before. But now it seems like it's all lost and gone. So anyway, gentlemen, let's wrap up this particular one and move on quickly towards the Women's Cricket World Cup, which has been quite enthralling for me in the way that it has gone down. For Pakistan, what is the way forward? Do they just drop all of this nonsense internal politics, which they've had over the years, I must add, get Baba Azam back in there, get them clicking with Mohammad Rizwan as they usually do, and be the backbone of the Pakistan batting lineup, and somehow, some way find their way back in it?
Question now is how valuable are these players vis-a-vis the politicians? Whoever's playing politics does not have the backing of the captain who uses muscle. At the end of the day, to the detriment of their nation, their national team. This is their favorite pastime. This is a national sport in Pakistan. And you can see how much it means to the Pakistani people. They are now being engulfed in all this, being taken for a muddy ride by off-pitch game. Right now, what they need is players focus on the game. Let's handle the politics aside. The captain was needed. If the captain had done a bad job in the first place, talk to him. Get him to talk to his players. They have dropped him. There is no logical reason for dropping him. He's been in good form for the last 5 years or so. Why are we bringing the boardroom onto the pitch? I really feel for the Pakistani people. It's like watching the USA basketball team growth. It's their sport. So you don't want that to happen.
Yeah, well, it definitely is a sorry sight, and hopefully they will get over that. But let's quickly move over to Women's World Cup. Look, the truth of the matter is Australia, the Real Madrid of women's cricket, once they get in that position, they're able to go forward. And I think more notably is the match that they played against India just more recently. Now, India had the backs of Australia right up against the wall. 104 for 5 in the 15th over. 104 for 5 in the 15th over. Australia managed to go and make 151 at the end of it all. Were able to belt an odd 40-something runs in order to get to 151. India themselves then imploded towards the end in the final over, actually losing 3 wickets and losing by 9 runs. They got so near, but yet so far. And then they needed a result to go their way, which was for Pakistan to beat New Zealand, which was never going to happen. Calculators and things like that.
Even with that in mind, you think of Australia, that culture of excellence, is that thing that we need to inculcate into our sport. And it goes not only in sport, in every aspect of our lives. So that is what we can learn. I always look at Australia, even when they are struggling, whether it's men's cricket or women's cricket, they somehow can find a way to win.
Oh yeah.
Where some nations, like we do, we find a way. Even if we need a draw, like even with the Warriors, they're not thinking, can we conspire to lose? that culture of winning has not been inculcated into our sport, into our very fabric, to say we do not lose. It's like at school, where at the Dynamos, whichever sport it goes, we will win at all costs.
Big question, Ash, before we wrap this up, and a very interesting thing that does Zimbabwe suffer from a lack of a winning culture across the board in all sports?
To be frank with you, 90% of our sports is social. If you look at it, the highest paying sport is cricket in Zimbabwe, and there is just a small pool of players that enjoy that money. You look at soccer, you have somebody who plays Premier League, they'll tell you my salary is $250. He's barely getting by.
A month, and that's a month.
Are those salaries?
Yeah, that's allowances.
No, you know what? You can pay to someone who works at an odd job. You don't expect your superstar.
Your superstar to be anything. So basically, it's one of those where for you to earn a decent living, you've got to be a doctor, like guys. When I'm done, I'm going back to work. Otherwise, you can't say I'm focusing on playing soccer. 1 or 2 players cannot be probably the highest earning in Zim. But it's not something that you can compare him to what he was earning at Sundowns. It's a pittance, but that's the cream that we have. So when we look at it, we end up with guys that are average to mediocre, then going to play in the Premier League. The cream realize that if I continue playing soccer,
I can't do this.
I don't look after my family.
I know a guy who was brilliant back then at Churchill. There's a guy, Barnabas Nassau. He used to play for, there was a club that was sponsored by Chroma Paint, I can't remember which one. He quit soccer to go to work. He was brilliant. But you have to strike that balance.
Am I making?
Yes, let's talk about all the other sports. No one gets paid to play hockey. No one gets paid to play rugby. No one gets paid to play basketball in Zimbabwe. It's a hobby. So yeah, the winning mentality, it's not there. We just basically going out there to have fun.
Wow. Well, definitely a lot to discuss there, and obviously would love to hear your thoughts and comments around that one. We're going to take another short break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap it all up. Liverpool versus Chelsea. Who's your money on? All right, welcome back. And gentlemen, the Premier League weekend is back. Yay! We're done with this UEFA Nations League. We're watching Azerbaijan versus Armenia. I mean, honestly, There's nothing in that for me, well, personally, for me. And I feel that it is an odd waste of time for many of those players. But anyway, nonetheless, it's Premier League weekend is back, Bundesliga, Serie A, and so on.
Yeah.
Let's zoom in on a match that I know a lot of people will be watching. Liverpool taking on Chelsea. Now, many of us, in fact, all of us are Man United fans, but we are forced to talk about these issues. Yeah, we're a sports show. So yeah. Oh, by the way, it's an Arsenal fan. You see, I'm sitting next to the enemy here. But in any case, so we've got Liverpool coming up against Chelsea. First and foremost, I'll chime in with this one as I hand over to you, Ash, and your general thoughts. First and foremost, for Liverpool and Chelsea, I feel that this is the first big test for Liverpool. I think they've been idling along at the present moment. Look, not to say that they haven't played some good football, but they've been ambling along when it comes to the teams that they've been facing. Now here's a first big challenge against a side that's playing some really good football. 2 new managers within the Premier League. It's now the big test of how do you handle such a massive encounter. Generally, where do you think this one is going?
Can I quote Pep on this one? Pep played Manchester City played Chelsea, and he played, I think, after West Ham, I think, when they played. And then he said, now the league begins. After they beaten Chelsea,
Yeah.
so they were done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not pretty much stopping Chelsea. You know, they're written off by Pep. But yeah, like you say,
To be fair, why you say that, you are saying that because you hadn't prepared enough. You're saying that you use some of the first few matches to prepare, to get in shape. That's the assumption
that same mentality. You do not, you're not expected to sharpen your teeth with Chelsea. It shouldn't be a bone, it shouldn't be a chicken bone that you can do. But they made you do chicken bone anyway. So yeah, looking at Anslot, he's got the short head new Salah. Yeah, and yeah, he's trying to put the combinations together. And coming from the international break, generally when these players go on international break, they come back, they play 3-4 games, if not more, in about 10-14 days. There's a lot of burnout. And looking at it, it will take its effect on Liverpool. They have so many international stars that start each and every game for their countries. Belgium, Netherlands, and stuff like that. They will burn out. Do they have enough depth to say, you start, then we'll bring in someone else? I think they do. Does Chelsea have what it takes to contend with Liverpool bringing the game to them in the first half? I don't think so. Chelsea will need to defend with everything they have, and in defense they don't have much.
All right, you're talking about defensively. Sean, personally for me, I think Chelsea does more than enough in attack to kind of stave off what maybe Liverpool might throw at them. I think that front row has clicked very well for them. The addition of Jadon Sancho seems to be working magic for them, particularly on the left side. Noni Madueke seems to be a decent threat on the right-hand side. And somehow, some way, Enzo Maresca has gotten Nicolas Jackson scoring. So it seems like Chelsea are definitely a force to reckon with, and not to discount the man who operates at sub-zero temperatures, Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer is just playing the game of his life.
You know what I'm saying about Cole Palmer is that initially you think he's sticking out wider than he was last year. So his touches in the boxes, they've actually gone down this year. But he's so precise. That left foot of his, it's like a wand. And you can see what he does with them. I think Chelsea, they're a good team. It will be the first test for Liverpool. But Liverpool has lost already to Forest. So meaning that calling it a first test is a bit of a stretch. But I'm thinking it's a good game. It's a fair game. And you'll see Maresca the way he's... I mean, they concede goals. Chelsea concedes. But Chelsea are scoring goals as well. So on the slot, it's also, you look at Ryan Gravenberch in the middle of the park. I think it's a bit lightweight. He's good going forward. So you find that when it's hammer time, he might struggle. I think for me, it's 50-50. It's one. Which team is it on?
It's Liverpool.
It's going to be difficult. That's by sheer force of knowing that they're playing at Anfield.
Yeah.
And
my silent player for Liverpool is Dominic Szoboszlai.
Yeah,
that's the guy you need to watch. He's there. You don't see him. He seems like he's not there, but he's there.
Yeah.
But he might be started on the bench. So they've got enough depth there. So Virgil van Dijk didn't play the second match for the Netherlands. Mo Salah is going to play the second match. So in terms of match fitness, I think Liverpool are shading it just by being at home. I think they'll win it, but it should be a belt of an encounter.
Yeah, look, okay, for me, I'll defend Chelsea. I want Chelsea to win. Well, that comes from my rivalry, of course, with Liverpool as a Man United fan. But I think this is where I feel that Chelsea might have a little bit more. And you spoke about the midfield, which is where I was going to come into. I feel like as if Moises Caicedo has settled much more into that role in the middle of the park. He's really playing that role much better. Would say not a shade, maybe just a step lower than what a N'Golo Kante, a prime N'Golo Kante would do for Chelsea in the middle of the park there, especially when they won the title with Antonio Conte. He's really commanding that midfield. He's also lethal as well when he does carry the ball forward and allows the others to get into it. So I'm feeling that is where for Liverpool they'll have to be careful. Liverpool's challenge, in my own view, is that when you look at their midfield three, which most likely will consist of an Alexis McAllister, a Ryan Gravenberch, and give or take, it might be Dominic Szoboszlai. He might be in there, or maybe they might choose to go with another one, all dependent how that one will go. My feeling is that all these three generally operate more as central midfielders and not necessarily that gritty defensive midfielder that they had, especially when they won the title in Fabinho. Fabinho was very much that person who would brush up the middle of the park and ensure that nobody was getting past into the defensive line. So that my general feeling will also be there. And then of course, let's not forget the defensive frailties of Trent Alexander-Arnold when he leaves that back at the back a little bit open there. That will be dangerous against someone like a Jadon Sancho. He will go there for days. A Cole Palmer will go there for days.
You know why I don't think Trent will struggle against Sancho is that Sancho is not the quickest. He needs time on the ball, Sancho. So you'll find that at United, for example, why you are always going to fail. You have Jadon Sancho and Bruno Fernandes playing together. They're slowing the play down. And then with Rashford, he thrives on pace. He's making runs in behind all the time. Sancho wants to take it back. When he here and there, he massages the ball. So that way, Rashford is offside. So, but at Chelsea now, he's allowed to play that sort of football. So Trent likes players that are quick, that take him out of defense. So that you find that he struggles in terms of positionally. He doesn't know that he's a right back sometimes. But one thing about him is that going forward, he will more than makes up for it.
He makes up for it. So my money is on Liverpool because I'm looking at the front line. On the front line. Rather than, and I'm counting on Chelsea's defense too.
Yes, to crumble,
You got Luis Diaz, good goal scoring form. Diogo Jota, good goal scoring form. Salah is getting there. Darwin Núñez is there. You got these four guys that
they can score.
That combination, anyone can start with anyone, might, will, and okay, definitely somebody's going to score. So I'll give it to Liverpool. Come on, to make it 2-1.
All right, 2-1. Liverpool?
Yeah, 3-1 actually.
3-1.
Cole Palmer is also off the back of a poor international break. How does it do on his psyche? Does it motivate him, or is he deflated? So that also, for Chelsea to win, Cole Palmer has to have the game of his life. Other than Palmer, I don't think Sancho can lift him to that level. Nicholas Jackson, if you rely on Nicholas Jackson, you're in trouble. Besides,
you look at it, Trent Alexander, Joe Gomez playing with Cole Palmer and Sancho for the three Lions. So they know, okay, these guys are French players. They've been sitting on the bench for the three Lions. These guys are starting. So that confidence that they can handle is there. So you can also count on for those two guys. But you know what? Chelsea needs to defend. That's all I need to say.
So a quote from Cucurella saying that he's being targeted. I don't know where he's getting that from. No one even remembers that he's the one that assisted the goal for Orlando was goal. Yeah, it's like.
And to be fair, I don't think he's one of the greatest in terms of.
No, I think he has improved. For me,
but it's not great.
No. For me, at Brighton, he played well. Remember, Pep wanted it.
Yeah.
It's always a sign. If Pep wants to play, Pep knows the play. So for him, he struggled the first time going to Chelsea, but towards the back end of last season, I think he came into his own. At the Euros, he had a very good tournament. And even the start of this season, he's been playing well. So I think he's a confidence player. So he says he talks a lot. I think for him, it's sort of like a way to psych himself up ahead of big moments. To boost,
Well, let's see whether he will be able to deliver the goods on the day. Liverpool versus Chelsea, Sunday, the 20th of October, starting at around about 5 p.m. I believe. 5 p.m., 5:30 kickoff. So that will definitely be one to watch. Yeah.
Manchester United play.
Brentford.
Brentford.
That's another point segue.
We'll be dealing with Brian Bembo.
To be honest, there were so many of those brothers. And it so happens that whenever any team plays United, it's like, their football improves. Everything that they do. The following week, you see them play again, you forget. It's the same side everyone.
Yeah,
but because it's United.
Down, trying to accommodate.
No, we've been stepping down a lot.
We stepped down or we actually laid down now.
I think, and we're digging now.
I think the biggest challenge is leadership. Yeah, Bruno Fernandes struggles with his leadership. He's the first one to lose his head whenever things are not going well.
Yeah, well, but anyway, he has to do much better. So Man United, Brentford, Man United should win, will win against Brentford.
Brentford 1-0.
Brentford always concede.
They'll concede 2-1. So in any case, that brings us to the end of this exciting episode here, Sports Extra. A great big thank you to you, Sean. Thank you for taking time out. Thank you very much, Ashley, once again for coming out. And obviously, we love your comments. We are enjoying your comments, and we'll continuously be adding to the show as well to make sure that you remain entertained. Well, my name is Rumbo Chakreka, and signing out on Sports Extra. Until next week, cheerio.